The sun poured into our cozy kitchen, reflecting off the well-used countertops and worn-out wooden table. Jake and I sat across from each other, absorbed in our morning routines. I thumbed through a cookbook, trying to find new recipes for the upcoming week, while Jake caught up on the latest news. Newspaper sprawled in front of him. "You remember my work event next weekend?" I began, breaking the comfortable silence. "It's that big fundraiser, the one I've been talking about for weeks." Jake, looking up with a thoughtful expression, responded, "Ah, the annual gala, right? With all your colleagues and their fancy dresses and tuxedos?" I chuckled. "Exactly that one. It's important to me, Jake. It'd mean a lot if you came, and not just for a brief appearance." His eyes twinkled as he teased, "Trying to show off your successful, charming husband, are we?" I playfully swatted his arm. "Oh, hush. You know it's not like that. But yes, it's crucial for networking, and having you by my side would give me a confidence boost." He nodded, taking a bite of his toast. "I promise I'll be there, by your side, throughout. Besides, it gives me a chance to see you dressed up, and I never pass that up." We both laughed at that, knowing full well he loved any excuse to get dressed up himself. Just then, his phone buzzed, diverting his attention. He read a message and sighed audibly. "My car's stuck at the mechanics again. I thought they'd have fixed it by now. This is going to mess up my whole day." Seeing his frustration, I quickly offered, "Why don't you take my car? I don't have any major plans today. Just some cleaning and maybe catching up on a book." He looked up, clearly surprised. "Are you sure, Alex? I don't want to leave you stranded." I pushed my car keys towards him. "I've got 2 legs and a whole neighborhood of friends. If I really need to, I'll find a way. Plus, Mrs. Henderson next door owes me a favor. I helped her with her garden last week, remember?" He smiled, relief evident on his face. "Thanks, love. You always know how to make things work. I promise I'll fill up the tank as a thank you." I grinned. "And maybe grab some of that ice cream I love on your way back?" He winked. "Deal." This simple exchange, a routine part of our daily life, unknowingly sowed the seeds for the tempest that was about to hit our lives. As soon as Jake left with the car, I went on a cleaning spree. The house needed some sprucing up, and there's no time like the present. I cranked up the volume of our old radio, letting the upbeat tunes fill our home. From scrubbing the kitchen counters to vacuuming the living room rug, the hours seemed to melt away. In the midst of my cleaning, I realized I'd missed our little indoor plants that needed watering. While attending to them, I noticed the framed photos on our shelves, documenting our years together. From our first camping trip, where Jake tried to set up a tent and failed hilariously, to our family gatherings where both our families mingled as one. It felt surreal how much we'd built together over the years. As I was lost in memories, I felt a sudden wave of anxiety. Glancing at the wall clock, I noted the time. It had been hours since Jake left, and I hadn't heard a word from him. Pulling out my phone, I checked for missed calls or texts. Nothing. Just as I was crafting a message to him, my phone rang, the screen showing unknown caller. Taking a deep breath, I answered, "Hello? Is this Mrs. Alex Williams?" The voice, firm and unfamiliar, sent a chill down my spine. "It is. Who am I speaking to?" "This is Officer Mitchell from the city police. I'm sorry to inform you there's been an accident involving a car registered in your name." My heart pounded loudly in my ears. "Jake, is he okay? Please tell me he's okay." "He's injured but conscious. You might want to come down here." I felt my knees weaken. "Where are you located? I'll be there immediately." The officer provided the location, trying to assure me it wasn't the worst-case scenario, but it did little to calm my racing mind. On the verge of tears, I rushed outside, desperately searching for a quick way to get to the crash site. Mrs. Henderson, the elderly lady next door and one of the kindest souls I knew, saw my distress. "Alex? What's wrong, dear?" "Jake. Accident. I need to get there," I blurted, the words coming out all jumbled. Mrs. Henderson didn't miss a beat. "My grandson's car is here. Take it. Go." "I can't thank you enough, Mrs. Henderson," I managed to say as she handed me the keys. "You bring that boy back safe and sound, and let me know if you need anything." I nodded. the weight of the situation hitting me as I headed towards the crash site, hoping and praying that everything would be all right. The accident scene was overwhelming. Traffic was diverted, emergency lights swirled, and curious onlookers whispered amongst themselves, their eyes locked on the site of the crash. As I parked and made my way towards the commotion, I tried to quell the panic that threatened to engulf me. A nearby officer noticed my distress. "Can I help you, ma'am?" "My husband, Jake Williams, he was in the accident," I stammered. He guided me through the crowd to where Jake was. Seeing him with paramedics, a cut on his forehead and an arm in a sling, brought both relief and concern. He was okay, but he wasn't unscathed. "Jake!" I rushed to his side. He tried to smile, his face pale. "Hey, Alex, looks worse than it feels." I gently touched his cheek. "What happened?" Before Jake could answer, a man approached, extending his hand. "Hi, I'm Tom. It was my car that collided with yours." Shaking his hand hesitantly, I responded, "Are you okay?" "Just a few scratches, nothing serious. But I'm more concerned about your husband and the lady who was with him," Tom said, his eyes darting towards Jake. I looked at Jake, waiting for an explanation. "Who was she?" Jake sighed. "She's a colleague from work. We had a meeting, and I offered her a ride home since it was on the way." "Why haven't I heard about her before?" My voice betrayed a hint of suspicion. "It was just work. I didn't think to mention it. And with the car situation today, it just happened," Jake replied, trying to calm the brewing storm. Tom added, "She seemed pretty shaken up after the crash. She took off even before the paramedics arrived. Thought it was strange." This revelation added more questions than answers. I frowned. "Why would she run off?" Jake shrugged. "Maybe she panicked. I don't know." We all fell into an uncomfortable silence. The paramedics were preparing to transport Jake to the hospital for a more thorough checkup. As we prepared to leave, Tom, trying to make amends, said, "I'll take care of the insurance and all. I should have been more careful." I nodded, my mind preoccupied with the mystery passenger and what that meant for our relationship. As the ambulance started up, I made a silent vow to uncover the truth, no matter where it led. After ensuring Jake was settled in his hospital room, my thoughts shifted to the DVR in our car. It was a relatively new addition, a birthday gift from Jake after I'd mentioned wanting one. The irony that this device might shed light on Jake's recent actions wasn't lost on me. "I'll be back soon, Jake," I whispered, giving him a light kiss on the forehead. He seemed drowsy from the pain medication. "Where are you going?" he mumbled. "Just need to sort out some things related to the car. I'll be quick," I reassured him. Heading back to the accident site, the tow truck was already loading our battered vehicle. "Excuse me," I approached the driver. "I need to retrieve something from the car." He looked me over, likely identifying me from my earlier presence at the scene. "Sure, be quick." I nodded, opened the passenger side, and swiftly removed the DVR, hoping its contents remained intact. Back home, my hands trembled as I connected the device to our television. The first few clips were mundane, trips to the grocery store, a visit to my sister's house. But then I found the footage from earlier that day. It began innocently enough, Jake driving, occasionally switching radio stations. Then a woman entered the frame. Even from the side profile, I recognized her. It was Melissa, a coworker Jake had occasionally mentioned. Their conversation was casual at first. They discussed a project they were collaborating on, some office gossip. But as the journey continued, their chat became more personal. They laughed at shared memories, and Melissa reminisced about a fun night a few weeks ago. My heart sank further when the crash happened on the screen. I watched as Melissa, in a moment of panic, hugged Jake tightly and then planted a fleeting kiss on his lips before escaping from the scene. The weight of what I'd seen pressed down on me. Their relationship wasn't just professional. I felt betrayed, hurt, and unsure of what to do next. Taking a deep breath, I ejected the DVR and placed it in a drawer. Whether it was evidence of infidelity or just a friendly bond taken out of context, I needed to confront Jake. But for now, I needed some time alone to process everything. The sun shone a bit brighter the next morning, but its warm rays did little to alleviate the storm inside my heart. With every passing second, the DVR footage played in my mind over and over. But I wasn't going to suffer in silence. It was time everyone knew about Jake's deceit, especially those who believed in our perfect union. I started with Lucy, my oldest and dearest friend. Our history stretched back to our school days, long before Jake entered the picture. "Lucy," I began as soon as she picked up, "I'm having a get-together at our place tonight. Jake's coming home from the hospital." She sensed the unease in my voice. "Alex, what's wrong? Why the sudden party?" "Just come over," I urged. "There's something you need to see." Next, I phoned Jake's family. His mother, always so warm towards me, was delighted. "That's a wonderful idea, dear. We've all been so worried." I could hear Jake's father in the background. "Make sure there's beer," he shouted jovially. Even Michelle, Jake's overbearing sister, was pleased. "It's about time you did something right for my brother," she remarked snidely. Throughout the day, I busied myself with preparations. There was food to be cooked, wine to be chilled, and a living room to be rearranged for the night's entertainment. By the time guests began arriving, our home was filled with the tantalizing aroma of roasted chicken and baked goods. Jake, having been discharged earlier, walked in to find our house bustling with activity. He looked surprised, yet pleased. "What's going on?" he asked, a small smile forming on his lips. I forced cheeriness into my voice. "Just a small gathering to let everyone see that you're all right." He leaned in, kissing my forehead. "You're full of surprises." Lucy, who had been watching from a distance, approached us. "Glad to see you up and about, Jake," she said, though her eyes were questioning as they met mine. The evening progressed, filled with light-hearted banter and the clinking of glasses. Michelle was, predictably, the loudest, sharing stories of Jake's childhood, much to his embarrassment. The laughter and chatter provided a stark contrast to the turmoil inside me. As dinner ended and people moved to the living room, I knew the moment had come. "I've got something to show everyone," I announced, holding the DVR remote. Jake looked puzzled. "What's this about, Alex?" I pressed play without answering. The room fell silent, save for the video's audio. As the scene with Melissa played out, gasps filled the room. Jake's face turned ashen, realizing what was happening. As the video ended, Lucy broke the silence. "Alex, what was that?" Jake, flustered, tried to interject. "It's not what you think." The room was abuzz with whispers, and all eyes were on the two of us. The stage was set for Jake to finally explain himself. The weight of the truth descended heavily on the room, muffling the chatter that had once filled it with joyful noise. Stunned faces looked from the now silent screen to Jake, their expressions ranging from shock to disappointment. Lucy, forever the anchor in my life, was the first to voice her confusion, her eyes darting between Jake and me. "Alex, why would you show this? What's happening?" Jake, sensing the rising tide of questions and accusations, tried to take control of the narrative. "Listen, everyone, it's not what it seems. Melissa just needed a ride. The hug, the kiss, it was just in the heat of the moment after the crash." Michelle, eyebrows furrowed and usually so critical of me, looked distraught. "Jake, you're not making sense. First the rumors, and now this? Why would she even be with you in the first place?" He looked down, searching for words. "It was a work thing. We got close. But it wasn't serious. It was just a one-time thing." Jake's mother, Mrs. Anderson, a pillar of grace and kindness, looked shattered. "Oh, Jacob," she murmured, her voice tinged with disbelief. "This isn't like you. You and Alex, you were the ideal couple." His father, Mr. Anderson, a man of few words, had a deep frown etched on his face. "Son, you need to explain everything. This isn't just about you two anymore. It's about the family." Sarah, Jake's younger cousin, who had idolized him, looked close to tears. "Jake, why? Alex has been nothing but kind to all of us." Jake, increasingly desperate, replied, "I made a mistake. I don't know how it spiraled this far." Lucy tightened her grip on my hand. "Alex, I've known you both for years. You two were inseparable, the perfect team. Whatever this is, it needs to be dealt with." I took a deep breath. "I know, Lucy. I thought we were strong, that nothing could break us, but now, I don't know. Amid the murmurs and discussions, Michelle walked over, her demeanor softer. Alex, I'm so sorry for the way I've treated you, and to think my brother was doing this, I was wrong about you. The room was thick with a mix of empathy, regret, and unanswered questions. It was evident that our relationship had changed in the eyes of everyone, and the path ahead would be an uphill one. After the eventful evening, the house was filled with an uncomfortable silence. Some relatives had decided to leave, wanting to avoid any more drama, while others stayed, trying to offer comfort, or simply too shocked to move. I retreated to our bedroom, wanting some time to myself, but Lucy followed. She sat next to me on the bed, placing an arm around my shoulders. Alex, are you okay? I sighed deeply. I thought I was prepared for whatever came next, but seeing everyone's reactions, it just made it all too real. Lucy hesitated, then said, There's something else you should know. I looked at her, my heart racing. What? She took out her phone, opening Melissa's social media profile. There, in her recent uploads, was a picture of a hand with a very familiar watch. Lucy pointed. I noticed this earlier. It's Jake's watch, right? Tears welled up in my eyes. Yes, that's his watch. I gave it to him on our 5th anniversary. Lucy continued. This photo was taken in your bedroom, Alex. Look at the background. It's your dressing table. I was taken aback. How could he? Bringing her into our home, our sanctuary? It's a violation. There was a soft knock on the door. Michelle peeked in, her face pale. May I come in? I nodded, still trying to process everything. Michelle hesitated. I saw the photo Lucy's talking about. It's unmistakable. I'm so sorry, Alex. I had no idea Jake was capable of this. I replied, Neither did I. Michelle looked down. I spoke to him downstairs. He's remorseful, to say the least, but I told him he needs to come clean about everything. Lucy, ever the protective friend, asked, Do you want to confront him? I took a deep breath. Yes, but not now. I need time to think, to process everything. Michelle nodded. Take all the time you need. Just know that I'm here for you. We all are. The weight of the entire situation hung heavily. My trust was shattered, but the support from those around me, especially from unexpected quarters, provided a small solace. The morning sun filtered through the sheer curtains, casting muted shadows across the ornate living room. Soft melodies from a forgotten radio played in the background, clashing dramatically with the tension that was almost palpable. I stood at the entrance for a moment, gathering my composure. Jake was already there, fidgeting nervously, while Lucy and Michelle whispered in hushed tones at a corner. The chandelier above shone brilliantly, illuminating the room but failing to dispel the gloom. Drawing a deep breath, I broke the silence. Jake, I've had a restless night, but I need every single detail now. He looked up, his face pale, shadows underlining his guilt-ridden eyes. Alex, it's complicated, but you deserve to know. Lucy snorted derisively. Complicated? Cheating on your wife is complicated? Spare us the theatrics. Jake shot back, clearly agitated. Lucy, this is between me and Alex. Stay out of it. Michelle, always the peacemaker, stepped forward. We're all involved now, Jake, but let's keep this civil. I nodded. She's right. Start from the beginning, Jake. Rubbing his forehead, Jake began. A few months ago, with all the pressure at work, Melissa was the one person who understood what I was going through. We were just friends at first, but things spiraled out of control. Lucy, unable to contain her anger, exclaimed, And you thought bringing her to your home was a good idea? Where's your respect, Jake? Michelle sighed deeply. Lucy's right. That's just unforgivable. Jake, close to tears, responded, I regret it every single day, every moment. But Melissa, she has this pull. It's not an excuse, but I felt trapped. Lucy's voice dripped with sarcasm. Oh, the trapped card. Classic. I intervened. Enough, Lucy. Jake, was our marriage ever real to you? Jake's voice broke. It was, Alex. It is. I made a terrible, terrible mistake. I can't change the past, but I'd do anything for a chance at redemption. Michelle, her eyes moist, said, "Jake, some things once broken can't be mended. It's a hard truth." Lucy whispered, mostly to herself, "We thought you were different, but you proved us wrong." Facing Jake, I stated with finality, "I need to find happiness again. Away from all this. Away from you. I'm filing for divorce." Jake's plea was almost a whisper. "Alex, if there's even a shred of love left, please reconsider." But my mind was made up. This isn't about love anymore, Jake. It's about self-worth. Lucy and Michelle closed in, their support evident. As I moved towards the door, I threw one last glance at the life I was leaving behind, a chapter closing, and a new one waiting to unfold. In the midst of a sunny neighborhood, my small art studio sat snugly between two tall buildings. My name is Amelia, and this studio was my refuge. As I looked around, the familiar sight of paintbrushes, messy palettes, and canvases in various stages of completion greeted me. Here, I felt truly alive, losing myself in the world of colors and forms. Walking in through the door was my husband, Alex, his tall frame barely fitting through the doorway. His dark hair was a mess, probably from running his fingers through it all day at work, but his bright blue eyes always had a hint of mischief. "Hey," he said with a tired smile, dropping his briefcase by the door. "How was your day?" I sighed, looking over at a particular canvas. "It was good, but I'm struggling with this piece. I can't seem to get it right." Alex walked over, taking a closer look. "I think it's great," he said, trying to be supportive. "But what do I know? I can barely draw a stick figure." I chuckled. "Thanks for trying to make me feel better." Before we could continue, the sharp ring of the phone interrupted us. I picked it up, already dreading the voice I'd hear. Sure enough, it was Evelyn, my mother-in-law. "Hello, Amelia," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "How are you?" "I'm fine, Evelyn. What can I do for you?" I replied, trying to keep the annoyance out of my voice. "I just wanted to see how my son is doing," she said. "Is he there?" Alex gestured for the phone, mouthing, "I'll handle it." Before handing it over, I couldn't resist a little jab. "He's here, and he's great. He always enjoys coming home to a supportive environment." There was a pause on the other end. "Well," she finally responded, "just make sure he stays that way. Put him on." Alex took the phone from me, shooting me a look that said, "Please don't start." "Hi, Mom," he began, and I tuned out the rest of their conversation, turning my attention back to my painting. After hanging up, Alex turned to me. "She's coming over tomorrow." I groaned. "Why? Does she need more ammunition to mock my art?" Alex put his arm around me. "I'll talk to her, okay? Just try to be civil." The next day, Evelyn arrived, and her entrance was as grand as always. Tall, with striking gray hair, she had an air of superiority that she wore like a second skin. "Hello, Amelia," she said, scanning the room with disdain. "Hello, Evelyn," I responded, gritting my teeth. Her eyes settled on my latest work. "What's this?" she asked, pointing at it. "It looks like a child's mess." I clenched my fists, trying to stay calm. "It's a work in progress." Evelyn smirked. "Isn't everything here? I don't know why Alex supports this hobby of yours." "It's not a hobby," I retorted. "It's my passion." Alex walked in, sensing the tension. "Ladies, can we please not do this today?" Evelyn scoffed. "I just don't see why you waste your time, Amelia. My son deserves better." With that, she turned and left the room. I sank into a chair, feeling deflated. Alex sat next to me, squeezing my hand. "Ignore her, okay? Your art is amazing." I looked into his eyes, feeling grateful for his support. "Thanks," I whispered. Life with Evelyn was like navigating a field of landmines. Every interaction was a potential explosion, and most days I felt emotionally drained by her constant jabs. Her favorite topic, of course, was my art. She never passed an opportunity to belittle it or ridicule me. One Sunday afternoon, Alex and I were in our living room. The sunlight streamed through our window, casting a warm glow across the room. I was sketching a new idea while Alex read a book. The peaceful moment was interrupted by a knock at the door. "I'll get it," Alex said, setting his book down. He opened the door to reveal Evelyn holding a pie. "I was in the neighborhood," she began, a hint of a smile on her lips. "Thought I'd drop by?" "Thanks, Mom," Alex replied, taking the pie from her. "Come on in." I forced a smile. "Hello, Evelyn." She scanned the room, her gaze stopping at my sketchbook. "More scribbles, Amelia?" "It's a concept sketch," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Evelyn smirked. "I'll never understand modern art. It all looks so pointless." Alex intervened. "Mom, can you please be respectful?" She shrugged. "I'm just giving my opinion." "I didn't ask for it," I retorted. Evelyn leaned in closer, her voice dripping with condescension. "I just worry about Alex. What kind of future will he have with a wife who spends her time drawing? Whatever this is." Alex stood up, placing himself between Evelyn and me. "Enough, Mom. Amelia's work is important. Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's worthless." Evelyn feigned surprise. "I'm just concerned for my son." I stood up. "And I'm concerned for my mental well-being. I don't need your negativity." Evelyn huffed. "Fine, I'll leave." As she made her way to the door, she stopped and turned. "One day, Alex will see you for who you truly are." I watched as she left, trying to shake off the weight of her words. Alex wrapped his arm around my shoulder. "I'm sorry about her." I sighed. "It's not your fault. I just wish she could see that there's value in what I do." Alex smiled. "She may never see it, but I do, and I'll always be here to support you." The days following Evelyn's visit were tense. I found solace in my art, pouring all my emotions onto the canvas. Alex watched me work, always encouraging, always there. One evening, as the sun began to set, painting our room in hues of gold and crimson, my phone buzzed on the table. An unknown number flashed across the screen. Picking it up, I hesitated for a moment. "Hello?" The voice on the other end was soft and pleasant. "Is this Amelia?" "Yes, speaking." "Hello, Amelia. My name is Rebecca. I'm with the Ashton Art Gallery. We came across your work online and are very impressed." I blinked in surprise. The Ashton Art Gallery was one of the premier spots for modern art in the city. "Really?" was all I could manage. Rebecca chuckled. "Yes, really. We'd like to meet and discuss a potential exhibition." A wave of emotion washed over me. "I'd love to." "Great," Rebecca continued. "How about this Friday at 3 p.m.? "That works for me." "Perfect. See you then. And Amelia, keep doing what you're doing. Your art is truly special." Hanging up, I turned to Alex, my face beaming. "You won't believe who that was." He looked up, curious. "Who?" "The Ashton Art Gallery. They want to discuss an exhibition for my paintings." Alex's eyes widened in surprise, and he pulled me into a hug. "That's amazing. I knew they'd notice your talent." I laughed. "I still can't believe it." He pulled back, his face serious. "You deserve this, Amelia. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." The news was like a shot of energy. I spent the next few days preparing, researching the gallery, and planning which pieces to discuss. The day of the meeting arrived, and I dressed carefully, choosing a simple but professional outfit. As I was about to leave, the phone rang again. Hesitating for a moment, I answered, "Hello?" It was Evelyn. "Amelia," she began, her tone different than usual, almost jealous. "I heard about the gallery." I was taken aback. "Yes, it's true," she scoffed. "We'll see how long that lasts." Resisting the urge to snap back, I replied calmly, "Thanks for the encouragement, Evelyn." She hung up without another word. Alex walked over, hearing the tail end of the conversation. "Don't let her get to you. Today's your day." I nodded, taking a deep breath. "You're right. Let's go." Walking into the Ashton Art Gallery, I was taken aback by its sheer grandeur. Walls adorned with vibrant paintings, sculptures strategically placed, and the subtle hum of quiet conversations filled the air. Rebecca, a tall woman with short, curly hair, greeted us with a warm smile. "Amelia, so good to meet you. she said, extending her hand. I shook it, my nerves still tingling. Thank you for having me. Rebecca led us through the gallery, pointing out specific spots where she envisioned my paintings. Your work, she began, has this raw energy that we believe our audience will resonate with. I looked at Alex, who gave me an encouraging nod. Thank you, Rebecca. That means a lot. She smiled. Now, let's discuss the specifics. We were thinking of dedicating an entire section to your work for the upcoming exhibit. That sounds incredible, I replied. Rebecca handed me a folder. Here's a layout of the gallery and a tentative schedule. We need your pieces here by next month. I flipped through the pages, trying to mask my excitement. This is thorough. I'll get started right away. The rest of the meeting was a whirlwind of discussions, from lighting preferences to wall colors. By the end, my head was spinning, but in the best possible way. As Alex and I walked back to our car, he turned to me, his eyes gleaming. You did it! I laughed. We did it. I couldn't have done this without you. He grinned. Now comes the hard part, selecting and preparing your pieces. Over the next few weeks, our apartment turned into a hive of activity. I was in a zone, finalizing paintings, choosing frames, and coordinating with the gallery. Every surface was covered with art supplies and sketches. One evening, while I was working on a particularly intricate piece, the doorbell rang. Alex went to answer it, and moments later, he returned with a familiar face. Evelyn, I said, surprised. She looked around, taking in the chaos. So, this is what preparation looks like. I hesitated for a moment, then replied, Yes, it's a lot of work. Evelyn's eyes landed on a painting I had just finished. This one's different. I walked over. It's a new direction I'm trying. She studied it for a moment, her expression unreadable. Interesting. Before I could respond, Alex intervened. Mom, why are you here? Evelyn sighed. I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. I took a deep breath. I'm proud of my work, Evelyn. She nodded. It's evident. Well, I should be going. As she left, I felt a mix of emotions. While it wasn't praise, Evelyn's visit wasn't as confrontational as our previous encounters. Alex wrapped his arm around me. She's trying, in her own way. I smiled weakly. Let's hope. The days flew by, and soon it was time to move the paintings to the gallery. With each piece I packed, I felt a combination of excitement and anxiety. This is it, I whispered to Alex as we loaded the last painting into the van. He squeezed my hand. You're ready, and I can't wait for the world to see your brilliance. The day before the exhibition was a blur of activity. The gallery was bustling with staff setting up lighting, positioning paintings, and ensuring everything was perfect. Alex and I arrived early, watching in awe as my artwork was given prime positioning. Rebecca approached us, clipboard in hand. Amelia, it's all coming together wonderfully. Your pieces are truly the highlight. I smiled, feeling a surge of pride. Thank you, Rebecca. This means the world to me. She nodded, making a few notes. The press will be here tomorrow. This is a significant opportunity for you. As the day wore on, I took a moment to sit, absorbing the surroundings. The realization hit me. I was about to have my first major art exhibition. This was a dream come true, and I was overwhelmed with gratitude. Alex came over, handing me a coffee. Deep in thought? I looked up, smiling. Just taking it all in. It's a lot. He sat down next to me. You deserve every bit of this, Amelia. I'm so proud of you. I leaned into him, grateful for his unwavering support. Thank you, Alex. Our moment was interrupted by a call. My phone lit up with an unknown number. Curious, I answered. Amelia? A voice crackled. Yes, who's this? There was a pause, then a familiar voice sneered. It's Evelyn. I stiffened. What do you want? She chuckled. Just wanted to wish you luck for tomorrow. Despite her words, there was an unmistakable tone of mockery. Thanks, I replied curtly, ready to end the call. But Evelyn continued. Actually, there's more. I visited your apartment today. My heart sank. What did you do, Evelyn? She laughed. Let's just say I improved a few of your pieces. I felt the blood drain from my face. You did what? Evelyn's voice was dripping with malice. You'll see soon enough. She hung up before I could say anything else. Panicking, I turned to Alex. She's been to our apartment. She's done something to my paintings. His face darkened. Let's go home. Now. We raced back, anxiety mounting with each passing minute. As we entered our apartment, the devastation was clear. Several of my paintings were destroyed. Splashes of paint, torn canvases, and scribbles marred my artwork. I sank to the floor, tears streaming down my face. How could she? Alex knelt beside me, equally shocked. We'll get through this, Amelia. But amidst the destruction, a realization dawned on me. The best pieces, the ones meant for the exhibition, were already at the gallery. Evelyn had ruined some paintings, yes, but not the ones for the exhibition. A plan formed in my mind. Wiping away my tears, I looked up at Alex. She thinks she's won, but she hasn't. We have an exhibition tomorrow, and it will be a success. He nodded, determination in his eyes. You're right. Let's focus on that. The day of the exhibition had arrived. I was nervous, but the events of the previous day had given me a newfound determination. Alex looked at me, offering a comforting smile. You ready for this? I took a deep breath. As ready as I'll ever be. The gallery was soon teeming with visitors. Reporters, art enthusiasts, and curious onlookers walked around, admiring the pieces. The positive murmurs and odd expressions of the crowd boosted my confidence. Rebecca approached, her face glowing with excitement. Amelia, this is beyond expectation. The response is phenomenal. I grinned. Thank you, Rebecca. It's all thanks to your support. As the day progressed, I was pleasantly surprised to see many familiar faces. Friends, family, and even a few old colleagues came by to show their support. Midway through the exhibition, an elegantly dressed man approached me. Amelia, I'm Charles. I've heard so much about your work, and I must say, it's even better in person. I blushed. Thank you, Charles. He looked around, his gaze settling on a particularly vibrant piece. This one, I'd like to purchase it. I was taken aback. Really? Charles nodded. Absolutely, and not just this one. I'd like to buy a few more. I was elated, hardly believing my luck. Alex joined us, equally thrilled. This is incredible, Amelia. As we finalized the details with Charles, there was a commotion at the entrance. Evelyn had arrived, smugness evident on her face. She walked over, her eyes scanning the gallery. So, this is your big day? I met her gaze evenly. Yes, Evelyn, and it's going better than I could have hoped. She smirked. I see. Well, enjoy it while it lasts. Just as I was about to reply, Charles interjected. You must be the infamous Evelyn. I've heard a lot about you. Evelyn looked him up and down. And who might you be? Charles extended his hand. Charles Montgomery. I've just purchased some of Amelia's artwork. Evelyn's smugness faded, replaced by surprise. You bought these? Charles nodded. Yes, and I must say, they're some of the best pieces I've seen in a long time. Evelyn was at a loss for words. The realization that someone of Charles's stature admired my work was a hard pill to swallow. I decided it was time to turn the tables. Evelyn, remember those paintings you improved at our apartment? She raised an eyebrow. What about them? I smiled. Charles bought those too. Charles added, and I intend to press charges for the damage to my property. Evelyn paled, her confidence shattered. You can't be serious. Charles looked at her sternly. I am. I value art, and what you did was criminal. Evelyn looked like she was about to crumble. I didn't know. I stepped forward. Now you do. Maybe you'll think twice before meddling in others' lives. After the whirlwind of Evelyn's confrontation, the gallery buzzed even more. I had to take a moment to breathe and center myself. The sheer number of people attending and the success of the sales was mind-boggling. Alex came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. How are you holding up? I leaned into his embrace. Better than I thought. But God, Alex, the sheer number of people. He chuckled. They're here for you. All for you. Rebecca sidled up next to us, a glass of champagne in hand. You two are the stars tonight. And Amelia, the critics are raving. Taking a sip of her drink, she continued. I've had 3 other gallery owners approach me already, asking about you. The next big thing, they said. I blinked in surprise, struggling to process the information. Really? She nodded, her eyes twinkling. Really, prepare yourself for a lot more attention after tonight. A familiar voice called out, There's the artist of the evening! I turned to see my old college friend, Lisa, striding over with a big smile on her face. Pulling me into a hug, she said, I always knew you'd make it big, Amy. I laughed. It's still Amelia to you, but thank you, Lisa. It's been too long. As the night wore on, I chatted with countless visitors, some who knew about art, some who didn't, and some who just came to show their support. Each interaction was a reminder of the journey I had taken to get here. Around midnight, the crowd began to thin. The gallery's lights dimmed slightly, casting a warm, ambient glow over the remaining guests. That's when I noticed a familiar face standing by one of my paintings, studying it intently. Uncle Richard? I approached hesitantly. We hadn't spoken in years. He turned to me, his eyes slightly moist. Hello, Amelia. It's been a while. Not knowing what to say, I simply replied, Yes, it has. He looked back at the painting, a piece I had done of our old family home. This takes me back, he murmured. We talked for a long time, reminiscing about old times and catching up on new ones. The rift that had formed in our family after a dispute over inheritance had kept us apart. But that night, in front of my artwork, barriers were broken. By the time the gallery closed, my feet were sore and my voice was hoarse. But the joy in my heart was unparalleled. Alex, ever the doting husband, carried some of my stuff as we headed out. As we drove home, he glanced over at me. You did it, Amelia. You proved them all wrong. I leaned my head against the window, the city lights streaming past. It's just the beginning, Alex. Just the beginning. The sun filtered through the curtains as I sipped my morning coffee. Last night's exhibition success still buzzed in my mind, and the feeling of satisfaction lingered. Alex was reading the morning paper when the phone rang. Picking up, I was met with a familiar, shaky voice. Amelia, it's Evelyn. My guard went up immediately. What do you want? To apologize, she began, desperation evident in her voice. I've seen the error of my ways, especially after the success of your exhibition. Why now, after everything? I asked, my voice icy. The buyer of the paintings has filed a lawsuit. It's substantial. I was hoping if maybe you could talk to him, persuade him to drop the charges? She was almost pleading. I took a deep breath. You expect me to bail you out after everything you've done? I'm genuinely sorry, she insisted. That might be, but actions have consequences, Evelyn, I responded coldly. Please, Amelia, think about it, she urged, before I ended the call. Days later, the court's decision came through. Evelyn was ordered to pay the full cost of the spoiled paintings and a hefty fine for property damage. The verdict didn't surprise me. She had openly admitted to the act, after all. Word reached me that Evelyn had tried to appeal for leniency, but to no avail. The damage was done. Soon after, Evelyn ceased all communications with me. The silence was, in many ways, a relief. With her out of the picture, my life regained its balance. My career flourished, and Alex and I continued to strengthen our bond. The ordeal with Evelyn was a harsh reminder that life was filled with challenges, but also that every cloud had a silver lining. Sometimes, justice did prevail,